The first thing Liralan noticed about the human was that he was leaking. Not just from one place, from everywhere. Dark red fluid slid down his temple, dripped from his fingers, soaked the shredded fabric around his leg. To Liralan, whose species possessed translucent skin and slow-moving silver blood sealed safely beneath cartilage plates, the sight was grotesque beyond language. She crouched behind a ridge of violet stone, her wide pupil rings dilated in alarm as she watched him stumble through the wreckage field. The crash site still hissed. Metal fragments from his vessel lay scattered across the moss plains like shed scales. A column of smoke twisted upward into the lavender sky, carrying with it the scent of burned alloys and unfamiliar proteins. The human leaned against a tilted slab of his ship's hull, panting. His breathing was loud, wet, painful. Liralan felt the tremor of his heartbeat through the ground. Her pupils sensed vibration the way other species sensed light. To her, the human's pulse was thunder. Each beat shook the soil and traveled into her limbs as a dull percussion. She had never encountered a creature whose internal rhythms were so violent. He was dying, she concluded. She should leave. The council had warned her about outsiders, especially warm-blooded ones. They were unpredictable, volatile, carriers of unknown biologies. Observation from a distance was permitted. Contact was forbidden. But she did not leave. The human collapsed onto a jagged piece of wreckage and let out a strange sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. He looked at his leg. It bent wrong. Liralan tilted her head. The limb was misaligned, the lower portion angled sharply outward, bone pushing against skin from within like a pale blade trying to escape its sheath. She felt her inner membranes recoil. Surely that meant death was moments away. Instead, the human reached down. No, come on," he muttered in a language her translator gland struggled to parse. His voice shook, but his hands did not. He gripped his thigh with one hand and his ankle with the other. Liralan's dorsal frills flattened. He pulled. A sickening sound cracked across the clearing. The human screamed. Liralan clapped all four hands over her auditory slits. The vibration of the scream slammed into her nervous system like a physical blow. She had heard distress calls before, injured sky whales, hunting shrikes, even tectonic plates grinding deep underground, but nothing like that raw, conscious agony. It was not merely sound. It was intention. It was will refusing to yield. The bones slid back into place with a dull, final click. The human collapsed backward, gasping, his entire body trembling. Sweat beaded across his skin. His teeth chattered. For a long moment, he did not move at all. Liralan stared. He had repaired himself. Not healed, not regenerated, not sealed. He had manually corrected his own structural failure. Her species required surgical vats and resonance fields to mend skeletal damage. Even minor fractures demanded months of suspension in nutrient gel. Yet this fragile, leaking creature had simply grabbed his broken limb and forced it right. The human rolled onto his side and began tearing strips from his clothing. He wrapped them tightly around the injured leg, binding it with practiced efficiency. His breathing gradually slowed. The thunder of his pulse softened from storm to drumbeat. He was stabilizing. Curiosity overcame protocol. Liralan rose from behind the rock. She stepped into the open. The moss compressed softly beneath her three-toed feet, releasing faint blue spores that drifted around her ankles like mist. The human didn't notice at first. He was busy tying a knot with his teeth. She approached to a distance of 6 body lengths. "Excuse me," she said carefully, activating her vocal membranes. The human froze. Slowly, he looked up. His eyes widened. For several seconds, they stared at one another. Two organisms from different stars, both injured in different ways. "Okay," the human whispered hoarsely. "Either I've got a concussion, or you're real." "I am real," Liralan replied. "You are structurally compromised." He barked a weak laugh. "That's one way to put it." His gaze swept over her elongated limbs, her translucent skin glowing faintly with circulating light, the delicate fin crest along her spine. Despite his obvious pain, wonder softened his expression. "You've been watching me," he said. "Yes." "How long?" "Since you began leaking." He nodded slowly, as if this were reasonable. "Right, sure, that's fair." She gestured toward his leg. "You corrected your internal strut without assistance. Why?" "Because," he said, "if I didn't, I wouldn't be walking again. Bone heals wrong if you leave it crooked." "You inflicted additional damage upon yourself intentionally." "Yep." "While conscious." "Unfortunately, yes." She absorbed this in silence. Her translator gland pulsed as it searched for an appropriate classification. It found none. "Does it still hurt?" she asked. "Like absolute hell," he said cheerfully. She considered the word hell. The gland suggested a place of torment one chooses to describe casually. Fascinating. The human shifted, testing his leg. He winced but managed to sit upright. "Name's Aaron," he said, "since we're apparently doing first contact while I'm bleeding out." "I am Lear Elan of the Third Spiral." "Nice to meet you," he said, extending a trembling hand. She stared at it. The appendage was blunt, pink, scarred. 5 digits. No claws, no stingers, no sensory cilia. It looked absurdly inadequate. Cautiously, she extended one of her own hands and touched his palm. His skin was warm. She recoiled instinctively. "You are excessively heated."
"Yeah, humans run hot."
"Is this not fatal?"
"Not yet."
She studied him more closely. Despite the injuries, despite the leaking, despite the crude self-repair, there was something unmistakable radiating from him, not physically but behaviorally. A refusal to stop. "Your vessel is destroyed," she said. "Your fluids are escaping. Your support structures are fractured, yet you exhibit no surrender response." He followed her gaze to the wreckage.
"I don't really have the option to surrender," he said. "Not if I want to survive."
"Survival probability remains low." He shrugged.
"Low isn't 0.
The simplicity of that statement sent a ripple through her neural lattice. Among her people, probability dictated action. If odds fell below viability thresholds, withdrawal was mandatory. It was logical, efficient, safe. This creature ignored probability entirely. Aaron glanced at her. "You wouldn't happen to know where I am, would you?" "This is the outer growth band of my world." "Habitable for humans?" She considered. "Marginally. Atmospheric composition is tolerable. Native predators are large." He nodded. "Figures." "You should enter stasis and await rescue," she advised. He smiled faintly.
"Don't have stasis. Don't have rescue. Just me."
A long silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint crackle of cooling wreckage. Finally, she asked, "Why did you not scream for assistance earlier?"
"I did scream," he said, "when I set the bone."
"That was pain expression, not a request." He chuckled.
"Yeah, guess it was."
She studied his face. There were lines at the corners of his eyes, creases formed not by age alone but by repetition of certain expressions. Determination, humor, endurance. "You are fragile," she said.
"Very."
"You are inefficient."
"Constantly."
"You break easily." "All the time." She tilted her head. "Yet you repair yourself." He met her gaze. "We try." Something shifted inside her then, a recalibration of assumptions older than her lineage. She had always believed resilience required strength, armor, redundancy, predictability. But this being possessed none of those things. He was soft. He was breakable. He was leaking. And still he persisted. Lear Elan straightened. "I will assist you, Aaron of Earth." His eyebrows lifted. "I thought contact was forbidden." "It is," she said. But your continued function is scientifically significant. He grinned. I'll take it. She extended 2 fingers toward the horizon. In the distance, crystalline structures rose from the plains like frozen lightning. My dwelling lies there. It contains medical resonance fields. He looked at the distant spires, then at his bound leg. That's a long walk. Yes, he sighed. Well, guess we'd better get started before anything else breaks. He pushed himself upright with visible effort. His leg trembled but held. Weiralon moved to his side, ready to catch him if he fell, though she suspected he would try to stand again even if he did. Together they began crossing the violet moss. After several steps, she said quietly, Aaron?
Yeah?
When you corrected your bone, were you afraid? He considered.
Terrified, he admitted. But fear doesn't fix things. Action does. She absorbed that. Behind them, the wreckage smoked. Ahead of them, an alien city shimmered. Between those 2 points walked a creature who could break and still choose to continue. For the first time in her life, Lyra Lan felt awe toward something fragile.